Thank you and welcome. My name is Viviana and I'll be your flutist today. Now, is it flutist or flautist? Does anybody know? I hear flautist and flutist. Both are correct. It depends on the salary. Now, the piece that I just played is one that I first heard when I was a little girl growing up in Chile. I was 5 years old, and the famous flutist Jean-Pierre Rampal was playing on TV. He was playing the Carnival of Venice. And I was so struck by the sound of the flute. It was so magical and beautiful, and I thought, I want to play the flute. I want to play that piece. I want to study with him. I want to travel the world playing the flute. So I ran to my mom and I said, Mami, quiero tocar la flauta. I want to play the flute. And that's when immediately my parents got me an accordion. So I played accordion, I played piano, I played clarinet. Finally, when I turned 10, I got my first flute. When I was 13, I won my first contest, which allowed me to travel with my flute. I attended the Aspen Music Festival on a scholarship. And then when I was 15, I played on a nationally televised John Denver music special. And I started studying with Jean-Pierre Rampal. When I was 18, I ended up going to the Juilliard School, and after I graduated, I used to play in the orchestras in the Houston Grand Opera, the New World Symphony, but playing in an orchestra was not for me. I wanted to travel with my flute. So thankfully, I recently performed as a soloist with the orchestra in the Philippines with the Philippine Philharmonic. I just got back from Taiwan, where I was playing recitals and teaching, and I leave for Mexico next week. I have performed in 123 countries. But the real miracle of my story is that I was never supposed to walk. I was born in a small town in Chile with a condition called congenital bilateral hip dislocation. It's a hip dysplasia. So if a normal hip socket is like this, I had nothing. It was impossible to walk. The doctors told me I would never walk. Because I was the worst case in Chile, my parents decided to uproot themselves from their lives, their family, their home, everything, and they brought us 2 daughters, 2 suitcases, and $2,000. We ended up here in the Bay Area, and I was immediately checked into Stanford Hospital. I have had 11 major surgeries, including 2 hip replacements. And finally, only 8 years ago, I am pain-free and limp-free. It wasn't easy growing up in body casts. I wasn't able to walk. I couldn't run. I couldn't play like all the other kids. But if they flipped me over in the hospital gurney where I lived, I could play the piano. So I played a lot of piano. In fact, to this day, I say that music healed my life. Now, one of the things that I noticed when I started traveling around the world as a flutist is that every part of the world has developed their own special kind of flute. Can you guess what this flute is made out of? And I'll give you a hint. It's expensive. Gold, that's right, 9-carat gold. Let's compare the sound of that flute to this one. What is this flute made out of? Wood. This is made of cedar. So it has a wonderful aroma, and it doubles nicely as a moth repellent. This is the Native American Indian flute. This flute comes from South America. It's called a zampoña. It was very popular in Chile, in Argentina, and Peru. And it's basically just panpipes, but there are 2 rows of them. The lyrics to this next piece in Spanish are, en una copa de vino quiero tomar veneno, veneno para matarme, veneno para olvidarte, which means, in a cup of wine, I'd like to drink some poison, poison to kill myself, poison to forget you. It's your typical happy Latin tune. This flute comes from Hungary. I lived 3 years in Budapest, and it's called a fuvola. And those of you in the expensive front row seats can see that there are no holes for the fingers. So how do you come up with the different notes? It's all in the breath and the tongue. Let's see how many notes I can get out of this stick of wood. This is the Irish tin whistle. And if I may quote Dr. Ruth and Carole King, Queen! I already promoted you to king. Size doesn't matter. I'd like everyone to please clap your hands, but don't get too fast. 1, 2, ready, and. I have strictest orders from the doctor never to ride a horse because of my very, very delicate and weak hips. Instead, I have ridden 5 camels, 3 elephants, and 2 dolphins. Now, I have been fortunate enough to perform in many of the world's most beautiful concert halls, including Carnegie Hall, and my latest CD was entitled Traveling Sonata, and it received a Grammy nomination. The places that I really love performing in, though, are the sacred sites of the world. From the pyramids of Egypt, and I've performed in the pyramids of Mexico, from Easter Island to the Great Wall of China, from Greenland all the way down to Antarctica. I have performed, and I like videotaping them and then putting them up online in hopes that eventually I will create a big IMAX feature film. Now, none of this would have been possible without the love and care and devotion of my parents. My father got cancer when he was 49 years old, so he was unable to see my later achievements. But my mother is still with me, and she's been with me every step of the way. She's my #1 cheerleader. So before I close, I just want to encourage all of you to dream huge, to dream wild. One of my wildest dreams back when I was in a body cast or even in the wheelchair, I said, I want to walk side by side, not with the wheelchair, not without the crutches, without the cane, side by side with a tiger in Thailand. And whoops, there I am. So dream big, dream huge, dream wild. Keep your thoughts positive and just go for it. Do it. Live your passion. It's worked for me. The doctors told me I would never walk, but they never said anything about flying. So if I can do it, you can do it better. Thank you.